Hi, I'm Chuck at the Review Board, and this is a short introduction on how to participate effectively during an environmental assessment. Environmental assessment is a set of steps for predicting the impacts of a project, like a mine or a highway, and deciding if the project should go ahead. It's a systematic approach that asks what impacts a project will cause on the environment, people, and communities. It's a tool that finds ways to reduce or avoid impacts from a project and to maximize its benefits to people. Most importantly, it's a chance for you to participate and express your views on the project to decision makers. Environmental assessment anticipates and avoids problems from a project and makes the project better. The broad EA process steps include startup, scoping, analysis, hearing, and decision. An environmental assessment begins once a developer or proponent submits its project document to the review board. You can take part by going to an EA startup meeting hosted by the review board staff. This meeting will explain what steps will happen in the EA. It is a chance for you to ask questions. You will find out how to sign up to the public registry to get documents. Federal government representatives will describe how you can apply for funding to help you take part in the EA. Near the start of the assessment, the review board holds public workshops in communities to help it decide what are the most important issues to study. These workshops are called scoping sessions, and they make a big difference to the environmental assessment process. If you come to these, you will find out more about the proposed project, and you can tell the review board staff what issues the board should focus on. The rest of the assessment focuses partly on what the review board hears at these scoping sessions. The analysis phase begins when the proponent gives its developer's assessment report to the review board. You can attend a meeting where the proponent says what is in its report and get answers to your questions. You can also send your questions in written information requests to the developer and get detailed answers to your questions that way. You can also tell the review board what you think in an audio recording or a video. Often the best time to discuss details about the impacts is during face-to-face technical meetings with the developer and Indigenous, territorial, and federal governments. These meetings are hosted by the review board. You can get a better understanding of project impacts, recommended improvements to the project, and suggest ways to better avoid impacts and resolve issues. You can also take part in community meetings. These are a way to share traditional knowledge and traditional land use information around the project area. At these meetings, community members, including land and resource users, discuss the possible impacts from the project on harvested species, cultural values, and the land. During the hearing phase, you can give your conclusions on the impacts from the project to the review board in a written technical report. This is also called an intervention. At formal hearings, you can present a summary of your report to the review board. This is also a time to get answers to your questions from the developer with the review board members present and to resolve outstanding issues. The review board also holds meetings in communities near the project. You can speak directly to review board members at these informal hearings and tell them how the proposed project would affect you, the land, and your community. This is a powerful way to share your views. In the decision phase, the review board prepares its developer's report of environmental assessment and submits it to either the territorial or federal minister for a decision. You can come to a meeting hosted by review board staff that explains what is in the review board's report and how the review board thought about your views when it reached its decisions. Formal Crown consultation by the federal government and GWT on the review board's report occurs at this time. As an Indigenous government, you can respond directly to the Crown on how the project might affect Indigenous and treaty rights. The public registry. This is an online tool that lets everyone see and download files for specific projects in an environmental assessment. It has all of the documents about projects in an environmental assessment. Each project has its own separate collection of documents for each environmental assessment. You can sign up to the public registry and get emails about every new document. There's often funding to help you take part in an environmental assessment. It is given out by the federal government, not the review board. The Department of Crown, Indigenous Relations, and Northern Affairs of the federal government runs the participant funding program. Participant funding is available for Indigenous government organizations, community governments, and other Northerners. The federal government has a guide to help you apply for it. Applications for funding happen at the beginning of an environmental assessment. There are many ways to take part in an EA. During the scoping phase, you can help prioritize issues to focus on during public meetings and in writing. In the analysis phase, you can ask the developer questions and work together in technical meetings to improve impact predictions, propose mitigations to avoid impacts, and resolve issues. During community meetings, you can share traditional knowledge and present traditional land use information about the project area. In the hearing phase, you can give the board your written conclusions about the impacts. You can present your views and recommendations directly to the review board members face-to-face at public hearings. During the decision phase, Indigenous governments can tell the Crown if they were consulted well enough up to then, and if there are other impacts on Indigenous rights. In an EA, you can use our process to make your voice heard. Thank you.